Hello, everybody, and welcome to our panel today for Overcoming Self-Sabotage. As you all know, the book came out last week and it's doing quite well. And so we wanted to have some of the authors up here just to provide us with some tips and talk a little bit more about self-sabotage because it is something that impacts all of us, to be honest. So thank you, Cindy and Philippa, for joining me today. To start with, I would just ask each of you to talk a little about how self-sabotage impacts our lives.
I'm happy for Cindy to go first. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would say that it really impacts our lives because it prevents us from doing all the things we're going to be great at. And I think that it's really difficult if you're experiencing self-sabotage and you don't really know how to overcome it, then you can kind of end up, confined in your own mind and really not be able to have the opportunity to see the potential outside of yourself and of all the things that you have available to you and all the things that you will go on to do.
So true.
Absolutely. I think the other thing about self-sabotage is that it's something that we're often not, because it sits in the subconscious. It sits in a place where we don't understand, or because it's not conscious, it's not in a place where we acknowledge it and we can see it operating on a day-to-day basis. And so it sits in the background for us and it operates 90 to 95% of the time, but we unaware of exactly how it's working. So whilst we experience its effects, we don't necessarily see how it's working in our lives, but it's there constantly in our subconscious.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, Cynthia. Right now, we're just talking a little bit about how self-sabotage impacts our lives or people's lives.
Mm-hmm. So for me, it will impact your health and well-being. It will impact your relationships. It will impact your performance. It will impact your time and money freedom. It all boils down to really not living the life you love. And most of the time, we have this. We just don't know that we have that power within us, which is even greater than the conditions, the circumstances surrounding us. It is just our thoughts, our fears, our limiting beliefs, the paradigms, how we were raised. What will other people say if I continue doing this, or if I pursue my dream? But we have the power to create our dream by design, not by default. Because by default, we'll be constricted by what other people would say, by our past pains, by all the circumstances we've had. So it is really up to us. We cannot control the surroundings we have, but we have that control to make our lives a fruitful life to live in. That's what I could share.
Amazing. And now, what is one thing that we can do to decrease self-sabotage in our lives? So, I know in the Light the Torch and in the book, we talk a lot about becoming aware of your self-sabotage habits and the fact that you are sabotaging yourself. But what is something that we can do once we're aware to decrease our own self-sabotage?
I guess I would say, I recently read a book called 5 Seconds by Mel Robbins, and she just kind of says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's stop thinking about it. Think about something else. Change the way you're thinking.
I love that book. It's so true.
For me, it's knowing your why and your purpose. Because once you know your mission in life, this will be our living guide. So no matter what challenges or what struggles we will be facing throughout the journey, you are set, and everything will because you'll see the challenges and struggles as opportunities now, not as threats or not as problems. That's what I could say.
Look, for me, because I believe that our subconscious core beliefs are what uh, form our self-identity, and that all sits in the subconscious. So we lay these subconscious core beliefs about ourselves down from the time we're in utero, about the third trimester, right through until we are around 7 years old. And so most of those subconscious core beliefs that we have about ourselves are written from a child perspective. They're written before we can intellectualize. They're just our feelings in that moment. And so when these subconscious core beliefs sit there, they say, you know, if you're a 2-year-old whose mum goes off to hospital to have another baby and she's gone for a few days and then she brings home a replacement baby, this 2-year-old's been abandoned and replaced in its own mind. Now, that's not necessarily based in reality, but that's the feeling. And so then the extension of that is, well, if I was good enough, mum wouldn't have left and she wouldn't have brought home a replacement baby. So I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. And then that flows into adult life where that subconscious core belief is taken in, and the subconscious is designed to keep us safe, right? And that's all that self-sabotage is. It's the subconscious saying, well, you're not safe if you do that. No matter what the conscious says, if the subconscious doesn't agree, it's not safe to do so. So what we have to do to break free from that is change the subconscious core belief about ourselves, which are usually just lies. We change those about ourselves and we can be set free from self-sabotage. No, because the conscious is only running 5 to 10% of the day, and it's not actually strong enough to overrule the subconscious. But there are ways to change it in the subconscious.
That's such a powerful point. So what would you say is the number one thing people do that sabotages themselves, or what's one of the more common ones that people do that sabotages their success, and what is the root of that? Where does it come from?
I think that it's the fear of the unknown. You know, if you don't know what's going to happen, then you're afraid of what that might be. You know, like she mentioned earlier, you know, if people are going to judge you, are they going to think you're dumb? Are they going to believe that you're, you know, acting ridiculous? Are they going to, you know, how are they going to judge you? What are your parents going to think? What are your friends going to think? What, all of those things. So I certainly think it's the fear of the unknown. So one of the things I think resonate with me when I heard it was, you know, whenever you go to sleep at night, you know, when you're a kid, you turn off the lights and all of a sudden you're scared of your surroundings because you don't remember what's there. You're afraid, even though it's the exact same room, you're afraid of what is out there. And so if you just get up and turn the light on, then you can see your surroundings are perfectly, and they're just as safe as they were before you turn the light off. But instead, we'll sit there under the covers and terrified and thinking about what's there, what's under the bed, what's in the closet. So I think the fear of unknown is the big one for me, at least.
For me, it's about how you were raised up. Because while during childhood, um, we were already exposed to the society, the culture, how how we should be raised, no, even the religion and so on. So if we are unable to meet the standards, and especially the baby boomers, the elders, they're very strict in terms of, like my parents, if you don't do this, there's a punishment associated with that. So instead of you really pushing yourself to really move forward and do what you're supposed to do, you just withdraw because, oh, I'm already a failure. They kept telling me that I'm already a failure. Why should I move forward? So that thing is already stuck into your mind that uh, I'm a failure. And you're already afraid of what other people would say, like what Cindy had mentioned. So, how will you be motivated if you have that kind of environment, how you were raised, and people judging you? That's the thing.
Yeah, I think it actually it's definitely fear, and it's definitely our upbringing, and it comes down to whether or not we feel safe. Again, in that subconscious core belief, and success has a different underlying core belief. So a lack of success has a different underlying core belief when it comes to um, financial or um, professional success, as does relationship success, or being weight loss, or there's lots of different success, but they have different underlying core beliefs. When it comes to professional success, it's a not feeling safe often to be seen or heard. It's about not feeling like you're enough, and the fear of putting yourself out there, because the experiences that you would have had in your younger years said it's not safe to be seen or heard. It's not safe to put myself out there and try, or put myself out there and fail. A lot of people with perfectionism won't do something unless they know they can succeed, and that comes from a fear of failure. That comes from, well, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it absolutely perfect, and that's because they're not safe failing. And that's definitely, as Cynthia says, from our upbringing. Mum and dad, if you get a B or a C on your report card, that's not good enough. Where's your A? All those things go into our subconscious, and they sit there and form the foundation of our life and lock those patterns in.
You know what? I would just like to share with you because I work with the World Bank and we had this pilot study about how you will be able to really develop yourself and learn. And then the first thing is show appreciation. The first learning thing that you should accomplish is learn to appreciate. When I asked my children, because since I'm part of the pilot study, I tried asking my children, was I able to show my appreciation while you were still growing up? And then they told me, no, mommy. And I was surprised. And then because even though we had a 95 score in the math or whatever test, 95, how come it's not 100? And then if it's 100, how come it's not 101? There's always something that I don't know. Probably I was raised like that, that I was being challenged by my parents. But then now we had a discussion. I could sense that I could see now their perspective, no? And uh, instead of them performing better, they have no motivation. And that's what I've learned also from my children. I have to adjust myself in terms of lower my standard. And I explained to them that, you know what, because I was raised by my parents wherein I am expected to bring or give high grades. They only mentioned, or they would always tell me, why is your grade so low? Because I am already expected to give high grades. But if there's something wrong, that's the time they will mention or take notice that, hey, you're not performing well. And that was again the upbringing that I've had. Now I'm trying to adjust, or else my children won't be opening up. And that's what I've seen with my children. They started to distance myself because, oh, I cannot cope up with my mom's standard. And those are lessons learned.
It's an excellent point that you bring up there, Cynthia. I know for myself, having to not, you know, at kids competitions or something like that, just being like, oh, awesome. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you achieve your personal goals? Or, and not, oh, well, maybe if you did this, it would be this much better or something. And so that leads me to, nowadays there's so much pressure on kids to be performing all the time and to be doing all the time and to be in activities. And striving, and they're little, and it's like, whatever happened to being a kid? And for those of us that are looking around going, ooh, I think I would like my kids to not grow up with anxiety about performance or a need to be perfect, or, a people-pleasing habits. How can we as parents make a change and stop those patterns for our kids?
That's a really difficult question, because I think that ultimately we all kind of have ideas on ways that we can do that, but you kind of never really know if it works or not. So I always try to just encourage them to, like you said, have fun, do the best you can. Don't be looking on your phone at how many likes you got on Instagram. Don't worry about those negative comments, because there's always going to be someone who has something to say about something. So as long as you're there and you're impressing yourself every day and you're proud of yourself, that's where it's at. And I know that's easier said than done. And so it's just a matter of finding those tools to teach them how to do that in their own way.
I think there's I agree with Cindy. It's not particularly easy. I have 4 daughters, and it's a struggle. And I think what helped for me was understanding where this work ethic pressure stuff comes from. It's a very it's a very social construct. It comes from the Presbyterian industrial age, where in order to get into heaven you had to work hard. And it's just come down through the generations that we have to work hard, we have to perform, we have to be this and we have to be that, otherwise we're not good enough. So the very first thing, and I think the most powerful thing we can do for our children, is model what that looks like for them. If we're doing it because we are enough, no matter what happens and no matter how we try, and if we say when we try and fail, we go, well, you know what, I learned something then, and next time I'll have a better understanding of perhaps how to get closer to my goal. And us accepting our failures, and us accepting that just trying is succeeding. Those things are really important, because we can tell our kids anything, but unless we're doing it ourselves, they will not follow. And that's just human nature.
I agree with you, Philippa. It should be us, the parents. We have a big responsibility in raising our children. Really big responsibility. And I've learned so much from that, because I saw my children distancing away from me. And I don't want that to happen. So that was the time I tried really adjusting, see, really listen, active listening, and try to encourage them to share what happened in school, what have you been doing, what are your concerns, or what are the problems, and then from that point, we will try to, what do you think is the best way to solve the problem? So it's encouraging them to be creative on what they can do, because they cannot change the other person or their classmates, or the teacher. It is them who can only change themselves. Now, when I tried applying this one, you know what? There was a big change in terms of my relationship now with my children. My son, before, they won't open up with me. Now, whenever I have this, we drive together, he would discuss topics which are so deep, which I can't believe. Now we're talking about sustainability in the food industry, environment, which, and he started talking to me this way like 23 years old. But before, he would just close down and then just stay in his room and do the video games, which is not really very productive. And those are the effects, the results of, if you're not aligned with their purpose. Both of you should really instill in them the values and aligning with them. What is your dream? And then be with them, join and listen. Where are they coming from? That's what I've learned.
Amazing. Thank you so much, ladies. That was so insightful and helpful as well. And I really appreciate you guys making time today to come and be on this panel and sharing your insights into something that affects everybody. I mean, self-sabotage, no one gets away from it. No one avoids it completely, at least yet. So, thank you for coming on and sharing your insights. And remember, everybody, the book Overcoming Self-Sabotage is out now in ebook and will be out in paperback next week. So make sure, stay tuned, watch your feeds, and check in with your favorite author to see where you can pick it up. So thank you, ladies. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Angela.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.